Move out the way! The public's waiting outside. Does the sword go this way? Yeah.
Can't imagine he's getting married, my God.
Can I take the cell phone on my elephant?
45 minutes late. Come, let's go. Good luck. Good luck, Danenjay.
An Indian prince heads towards his destiny. He's 25 and is wearing his grandfather's wedding clothes.
He looks better than Prince William. Yeah, like that's a statement.
In India, fairy tales still exist, and this is one of them. A living dream amidst the last of the Maharajas and their heirs. Like Prince Danenjay Singh, whose marriage of the century will feature 7 days of grandiose ceremonies, and to which we've received a special invitation. It's my dream to have a marriage like this, that a prince comes from me on an elephant. On the magnificent lake Udaipur, a businessman prince has opened the doors to some of the most beautiful palaces in the world. His family owns 10. Today they've been converted to luxury hotels, where movie stars come to relax. The Prince of Udaipur is selling dreams, and there are plenty of buyers. The Maharajahs of the 3rd millennium bridge modernity and secular tradition. The youngest of these blue bloods is 13 years old and goes to school, but on weekends has 400 servants at home. The splendors of the past and the secrets of the dream machine, a look behind the scenes at the grandest of Indian families. Rajasthan is the land of kings, a state in the north of India. Its history has been dominated by the Maharajahs and their alliances and wars. These days they no longer decide the fate of men, but villagers continue to live in the shade of their wealth and sumptuous palaces. Khimsar's palace dates back to the 16th century, and it still belongs to the dynasty that built it. It's about to host one of the greatest marriage ceremonies in its history. A traditional marriage, but with a pinch of modernity. The Maharaja's family wanted to open it up to the world. They asked for American know-how, as well as this man, Punit. His parents are Indians, but he grew up in the United States. Punit is a little stressed. He's unfamiliar with the country's trade union practices.
The funny thing is I don't really know what's going on with this ceremony, so I'm kind of winging it. Okay.
He's been working on the wedding for 6 months.
Mailing it in?
His is an international team, Americans and a French designer, Olivia. Olivia first came to India when she was 22 years old, and she has never left. She now speaks fluent Hindi and is doing what she's always wanted. How long have you been living in India? I've been here 12 years, maybe a little longer. Could you have done this in another country? No, you have carte blanche in India. You can let yourself go. There are so many guests, you can do things on a grand scale. In France, things are more restricted. Here, you can go crazy. The colors, the ideas, the small gifts, little things, and because of the budget too, you can do so many things here. Is there a lot of excess then? Oh yes, a lot more, and that's what they want, so it's really nice. And the budget is several $100,000, although the exact amount won't be revealed. Anything goes here. The workforce isn't expensive. For a few euros a day, dozens of villagers are able to work. Some 400 distinguished guests are expected for a week-long celebration. 7 lunches and 7 dinners prepared by India's greatest chefs. The lucky few will be lodged in the palace itself, all paid for by the Maharaja. The other guests will stay in a specially designed oasis. Hundreds of tents with every comfort have been set up on the desert sand.
Okay, so let me give you whatever we have left over.
This is the way in. These are great. The bathroom. This is the tap and a bath, which will be filled. This is like a little village. Yes, we've recreated the village, cut off from the outside world, so it's nice. It's surrounded by dunes, so there's no external noise. And the stars will be the ceiling, so it'll be sublime. At the same time, in the village, the royal family is providing a giant banquet of 30,000 meals for the villagers to thank them for their help. Hello, how are you? I haven't seen you for a long time. In 5 centuries, not too much has changed. The men come to greet the heir, and he slips them each a present, a 100-rupee note, the equivalent of a couple of dollars. A paltry sum for the royals, but an average day's salary for the locals.
It's just a symbolic gesture, saying that they're here for the reception, and they're just handing over a small gift. All the time.
And here's Gajendra Singh, the Maharaja in person, and Danenjay's father. For 4 centuries, his ancestors ruled unopposed over this region. The villagers touch his feet as a sign of respect, as if he was still the master and they his subjects.
It is the most important function as far as the roots are concerned. These are our roots. We belong to this place for the last 20 generations. Friends are important, but this is as important. Your relatives are important, your friends are important, but I think this is most important.
It should be noted that the villagers are also voters. Gajendra Singh, like many other Maharajas, has entered politics. He's currently the Minister of Energy for Rajasthan.
Nice to meet you. How are you? How are you? Nice to meet you.
In among the crowd is a group of French tourists who have shown up quite by chance during the banquet.
We come from France.
Nice meeting you.
Congratulations.
You're from France? Where in France? Which part of France are you from?
Strasbourg.
Okay, I was not too far from you 4 months ago. I had come on for a vacation to Alsace. So I was in Toulouse to see the car museum.
Ah, d'accord.
Ah, yes.
So,
Shumf collection, yeah.
The Maharajas, father and son, are welcoming.
please, a picture with you.
Yes.
Voilà.
What do you think of this ritual?
Un peu obsolète.
It's a little obsolete, like Louis XIV. It was like in a court where everyone's venerating the king and queen. And the incredible cost. And not far away, you see people without water living in filth and poverty. It's like the times of the French Revolution.
Et dans la misère, là, ils sont près de la Révolution française, quoi.
The lord who keeps the loyalty of his people with a few bowls of rice. The old feudal system has not entirely disappeared, even if the Maharajas now have to work for a living. In Khimsar, 200 kilometers away, the 21st century has caught up with the heir to the throne of Udaipur. Laksharaj Singh, flanked by his bodyguards, inspects his domain. It resembles a scene from Octopussy when James Bond was also on the lake's waters. These days, the palaces of Udaipur welcome stars from around the world. Nicole Kidman and Julia Roberts have both stayed in the Lake Palace, where Laksharaj's ancestors once lived.
Palace was the summer residence, and the monsoon palace that you see on top of the hill there, that was the times when the family used to shift there in the monsoons. Being one of the highest points when the monsoons used to be there, the clouds used to be below the hill, so it used to be as if the palace is actually flying. Well, my grandfather converted the Lake Palace into a hotel in the early 1960s, and then subsequently the others were made into hotels as well.
But why? What was the...
Predominantly to be able to sustain these huge structures, otherwise trying to maintain them in today's time is a huge challenge. So obviously economics was one of the major reasons at that point in time to ensure.
But do you at any point feel slightly dispossessed or...
No, not at all. No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I think being able to share your home is a fantastic feeling.
Laksharaj, like his father before him, is a Maharaja turned businessman. He manages the 10 family palace hotels and is heading to one of them to supervise preparations for a marriage. First they come in from over there and then go to the garden. There they'll exchange the garlands of flowers as the music plays, and then fireworks, and the procession can begin. The prince went abroad for his studies to Australia to learn hotel management. On his return, an empire was waiting, but he's never forgotten what he was taught as he learned his trade, attention to detail. Are these going to be the decorations?
My first job ever, and it was a huge banquet for about 600 people in Australia, my first ever experience. And for breakfast, we started shift at 4 in the morning, and I remember carrying these 7 glasses of Coke, which I obviously would have imagined what must have happened to that tray. It obviously went and collapsed on the guest who had asked for it, so it was the biggest disaster that would have ever happened.
More at ease as a businessman than as a waiter, the heir to Udaipur's throne gets about on a golf cart. He is at home, after all. A third of the town belongs to him, including the prestigious city palace. Laksharaj's ancestors built it in the 16th century. It's the largest fortress palace in Rajasthan. 500 meters long and 30 meters high, it dominates the city. This is his home, even though part of the palace was converted into a 5-star hotel 40 years ago. There are 30 bedrooms decorated with old-world charm, none more expensive than $230 a night. Affordable luxury that is the secret of the success of the Singh family's palace hotels. As well as the unforgettable views.
Excellent. It's all under control. Everybody ready to rock and roll? Yeah?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes, sir. We have 2 events today, one in Sanana.
Yes, we have 2 events today, and for Monday it's all set.
And the transport?
Yes.
Sorted?
The board of directors is meeting as it does once a week in the reception hall of the city palace, under the eyes of Laksharaj's illustrious forebears. The heir has to make do, even though he'd prefer the atmosphere to be rock and roll.
But you're still very young. You're just 27 and you've got an immense amount of responsibility to you. Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? Or sometimes is it too much?
No, sometimes it is too much. There's no question about it. One's not going to shy away from it and say that no, it's not, and it's all very fantastic and rosy, as much as it may look and as much as it may be till a certain extent, yes. But everybody has their days. You like pulling your hair apart, and that's why I like keeping my hair short. So, yes, it does get to you as any other thing in life. Whatever you may do, even if I was running a tea stall, sometimes even if you're running a tea stall gets to you.
To be the son of a Maharaja isn't always a soft option. Laksharaj, like other princes, left home at a young age to be better educated. The young aristocrats are sent to Mayo College, a boarding school whose austere and mysterious atmosphere resembles Harry Potter's Hogwarts school. It's 6 a.m. and it's time to start the day. There are some 900 kids, the cream of the Indian elite, all with wealthy parents. The richest is Padmanabh Singh. Age 13, a Maharaja, and with an estimated personal fortune of almost $600 million. But everyone is treated the same here, regardless of rank or title. Padmanabh is learning to live in a community without his 400 servants.
Are there some mornings where you do not want to wake up?
There are.
Yeah.
But we have to.
How long have you been here in this school?
2 years now. 2 years. This is my 3rd year.
It's a school you've chosen or your parents
No, I
have
also
chosen?
wanted to come here, but and parents also wanted me to come here.
His cousins, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, and many of his ancestors were all at this school, which was founded in 1875 to educate the sons of royalty. In those days, the princelings lived with a retinue of as many as 300 servants. Things have changed. Padmanabh is treated like any other pupil and has shown no leniency in the morning exercise routines.
Okay, next. Come, Eddie. Okay, come. Okay. When he has joined the Mayo, of course, his parents and of course everyone have it in their mind that he should be treated like a normal child here at Mayo.
No favor at all for him?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
It's not required actually. I said, favor I will give once he will ask for it. He never asks. He is one among the 830 Mayoites.
When he arrived, Padmanabh told no one he was a Maharaja.
I thought if I tell them they'll all tease me, and I thought it could have happened, but no, they were good friends and they supported me.
And why were you afraid that they would tease you?
No, because I was not there. Everyone, they all were like, not like, I don't know, but I just thought they'll tease me, and now I can do many things which I could have done that time.
For example?
Like mischief, and yeah, if I break bounds and go out, I'll be suspended and all that, but that won't be good for my family and
So you have more pressure?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
No, not exactly pressure, but more responsibilities.
The school educates future lawyers, business leaders and politicians. Padmanabh would like to study law, but for the time being, he's a boy like all the others with the same interests, such as football.
He being a Maharaja does not affect our friendship with him, because we as friends, we as good friends, and being a king does not affect anything. So
the fact that being king is something that doesn't advantage you.
I don't know. I'm too young to know that.
To know what?
That it advantages me or not.
You don't want to know for the moment?
No.
Padmanabh knows his destiny is out of his hands. Yet he came very close to never becoming the Maharaja. His parents' somewhat shocking story almost cost him the throne, as we shall discover. At Khimsar, there is no scandal and all is going as planned. On day 6 of the party, the prince attends the gift ceremony. His mother greets the family of her future daughter-in-law. The bride is nowhere to be seen and won't be seen right up until the last moment. All members of the Rajput caste have been invited. Descendants of Maharajahs, now bankers, lawyers, businessmen. Another sign of the times, even foreign friends of the prince have been invited.
So are you guys friends of Danenjay?
Yes, we are. Yes, went to school.
How long have you been here?
It's amazing. It's we're very impressed so far. It's very special. I mean, I've never been to India, so it's a very great moment to share with him.
They met Danenjay in Switzerland when he was a student at hotel school. At the time, none of his classmates knew he was a blue blood. Yeah, he's very elegant, very beautiful.
When I saw him, he was just one of the students, you know, like all together, like 10 people in one room hanging out, and we did everything by our own. We had to clean our rooms by ourselves, and now here he needs to delegate, and he's so formal.
He looks nice, huh? He was very fat. He lost 37 kilos. So he has a whole new look. Nice.
Alan told you, I said, I'm at hotel school, made me huge fondue and raclette. So I came back and I said, let's get back to shape. So I just started running.
Now he's running behind negation. to get her.
Danenjay will receive hundreds of gifts, from simple dried fruits to valuable objects handed down to families over the generations.
These are jewelries. They're sold. That is the Rajput tradition which we give him.
So how are you feeling about this?
It's a great feeling. But yeah, I mean, it's still sinking in, so...
Are you a little bit taken aback at
if all my friends are asking me nervous, I'd say not at all. Yeah, it feels nice, actually.
The red mark, called the ticker, is placed on Danenjay's forehead. His destiny is tied now to the family of his wife-to-be. Would you like to marry a prince? Oh, who wouldn't want to marry a prince? There's a lot of pressure, though. We're here to find our prince, in fact. Danenjay is no longer free. The agreement between the two families has just been concluded. He can now fetch his waiting bride from his palace on the back of an elephant.
The good thing is this is the best time actually to fly because clear sky and...
The Prince of Udaipur wants to make the most of life as a single man for a little longer. This weekend he's asked us to meet him at the family's aerodrome to share in his passion for model airplanes, to which he dedicates several hours a week.
Yes, very easy to break them, there's no doubt about it. Oh, fair few, fair few.
It matters little, as his engineering team maintains the aircraft and encourages him to make him happy.
Landing, lovely landing. Ah. This landing is the perfect one.
I think it's something that's very, very relaxing and therapeutic, if I can say. And it relaxes you a fair bit because you have to have 100% concentration when you're flying the aircraft, so you have no choice but to forget everything else that goes on.
Do you remain a kid in your head when you fly?
No, sometimes, all the time.
A big kid who also collects large, luxurious cars. Vintage models from a time when only Maharajahs and British colonists could drive around in such fast cars.
Predominantly, both these cars were ordered in a pair. One was for my grandfather, the open one here on the left, the green, and the black was for my grandmother. So both of them were ordered in a pair. So this used to be when, because at that time and era, there used to be the parda system when one couldn't look at the ladies from the outside. So that is why this car was covered. In fact, the Phantom 2 that you see out there was one of the cars that were used in one of the Bond films that was shot here in Udaipur. So yes, you would kind of get a glimpse of that car in that film.
A turn-of-the-century Cadillac, a Phantom, and a Rolls-Royce, just some of the family's 20 collection cars. From time to time, Laksharaj takes one for a spin through the streets of Udaipur. He calls it going walkabout.
Yes, absolutely. You know, they're all waving. It's nice to kind of say hello to them because you're really not this open when you're traveling in the city. So when they see you this close and up front, you know, it makes them more approachable, and I'm probably more approachable to them as well. So.
A gilded youth, but at what price? It's hard for the hereditary Prince of Udaipur to stray from the path chosen by his family. He's currently the last in the line, a responsibility he has to live with every day. His ancestors' palace has been transformed into a museum, where he is constantly reminded of his duties, the first of which is to make a good marriage.
Marry
We're still putting fingers in mouth to get the answer.
No, we're just trying to understand.
Yes, no, yes, you know, absolutely. I think marrying within the community is something that we all have done for 1500 years, and I see no reason why it should change today. And it's something that I feel very strongly, as well as values of the house, and it is something that needs to be upheld and maintained.
You cannot be the one who would break the language.
Ooh, you cannot be the one. I do not wish to be the one. Let me put it that way.
An arranged marriage to perpetuate the dynasty is an obsession for Maharajas. They say it is part of their lifestyle, a tradition that needs to be continued. From childhood, princes are raised on these principles, and those who waver run great risks. It's summer in Rajasthan, and the king, the little Maharaja, is in the capital, Jaipur, home on his holidays, and is getting ready in his apartments. It's his birthday, and he's expected on the royal throne. In the palace, 400 servants have gathered for the occasion. Among them are his aides-de-camp, a French expression dating from the colonial period and the name for his closest assistants. There are 16 of them, all inheriting their functions from their fathers before them.
Considered bad manners if you keep this thing
when the Maharajahs coming, we should be properly dressed. Nothing should be missed. You know, that's why he's trying to get perfect fitting.
So does someone here is responsible to check up the others?
Yeah. No. He will do the penalty on us. He will charge penalty and say why you are not properly dressed. Something is missing, he will immediately say wrong. My forefathers working for the king, so I am also working for the king, and my son will also working for the king. This is the family business.
Why is it so important for you to maintain this?
We want to make our, I told you, we want to maintain our heritage system. We don't want to be a modern, we want modern, but we want to maintain our social system and everything. We should maintain.
It's a system that keeps many in work. An entire court revolves around its protege, the last in the dynasty. Since its founding in 1033, there has been 44 generations of Maharaja. Padmanabh is learning the moves and gestures of his illustrious predecessors. The men of the court come and pay their respects to the young prince. They touch his feet and offer up a few coins. The palace cameras record every moment of the endless procession.
So they're giving money?
Not money, this money goes to the poor people like that. This is just respect.
Group photo. And where are your school friends for your birthday?
They come for the party.
In the past, the aides-de-camp would help the Maharajas to govern. These days, their duties are more ceremonial. Padmanabh's closest advisor is his father.
It is. He's only 14 years old, and he has a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders. So I'm sure he must be having a lot of pressure, but I'm happy to see that he's really getting it so well. Yes.
Danenjay Singh never thought his son would one day become the Maharaja. He had never been a prince. He broke his way into the different world of the Jaipur royal family when he fell in love.
His Royal Highness is the godfather of these two, my children.
Okay.
So he's the godfather for my son, the elder one, and that's my daughter. She's 13, so he's the godfather.
So the Prince Charles.
Prince Charles, yes. And that's, of course, His Excellency President Clinton. He also visited here. What a wonderful man.
Prince Charles is a frequent visitor to the palace at Jaipur. He first came with Princess Diana and later with Camilla. The two families are very close. Singh was never really meant to be part of the picture. When he was young, he was the princess's driver, but the two fell in love, a Romeo and Juliet romance that caused a scandal. The royal family remains tight-lipped about the affair, but in the lower levels of the palace, the archives tell their own story, or at least the people that work there do. In fact, they can't stop talking about the Jaipur royals and what happened to make the 1,000-year-old dynasty taint its pure blue blood.
Princess from Jaipur should have married a prince. So he was not a prince. Later on, he was accepted as Maharaj.
But at the beginning, not at all?
In the beginning.
What did people say? What did they think at that time? At the beginning?
At that time, there was some news in newspapers and...
It was scandal in the community, in the Rajput community itself.
Okay.
They were not expecting to marry a prince or, say, a person who is lower in rank. He was from the same community, but lower in rank, that you can say.
And princess, she said, I don't care.
I don't care.
So a lot of courage.
Yes, that needed courage.
Young Padmanabh, as the son of a princess and a chauffeur, should not, according to tradition, have acceded to the throne. But when his grandfather, the king, died in 2011, he is summoned to burn his ashes. At age 12, he inherits the title of Maharaja, not without some clever maneuvering by his family. In Khimsar, the festivities are still going strong, with the future bride still tucked away inside the palace. No one has seen her face yet, apart from immediate family. In other words, those who chose her. Such as Danenjay's mother, who can't resist introducing her, albeit over a cell phone.
But I don't know, I don't think it's a nice one. In our Rajput system, the girl sends the photograph and the horoscope to the boys. The girl sends. So then if you like the photo...
The betrothed is called Imagresha. She's from the neighboring state of Gujarat. She's a princess and also a member of the Rajput caste, the crucial factor in making such a marriage feasible.
I never understood when I was young, when my mother used to talk about bloodline, I never understood. But now I understand. Like my son is the 20th generation, you know? And now all along the bloodline is all right. And if you marry out of caste, then the mixed blood, you know, it gets mixed up. And then it's all finished.
The time to fetch the bride is getting close, and the atmosphere is jubilant.
We are planning to give all my friends Indian sari each, which is completely pre-tied. And we're basically going to teach them how to wear it, and turbans for the men. So it's going to be quite cool.
Or maybe if it's, I have to make sure, yeah, you have to make sure that nothing falls out. And I'm really excited, and I want to see all these new traditions. Is it your first time in a turban?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
The turban is fashioned from 7 meters of material wrapped around the head.
It feels a little bit heavy, heavier than I was expecting actually, but it feels like nice, you know, part of the game, I guess.
1, 2, 3.
In the past, the king's court would have ridden out on horseback to collect the bride. But these days, it's an air-conditioned bus and luggage on casters. They head to where the princess lives in Jaipur, a few hundred kilometers away, and a 6-hour drive. The women of the family stay behind in Khimsar.
We have 10 minutes till countdown.
By tradition, the women never attend when the bride is introduced. And traditionally, they get bored. But this is 2012, and they'll be entertained. Puneet and Olivia, the wedding organizers, have laid on a very special, glamour-filled evening.
I love James Bond, and I just felt like it's kind of an appropriate way to launch off of the wedding festivities and get away from the orange and offer the ladies something else to do, because you know, normally it's just dinner, lunch, and they wait for the bride. And this way we can give them something, you know, festive and fun.
Everything okay? Yes, they're in the elevator. I'm getting ready. Other guests? Yes, the first of the women are downstairs. And I'll greet them with a flower. I got ready in 2 minutes. Let's go.
I will give you some boas.
Other Rajput traditions are the veils women wear to avoid being seen by the men. But tonight, however, they'll swap their veils for some charming accessories.
Then, oh yeah, that's really nice.
And then let it be. What do you say?
I think it's great. And why don't you take a silver flower or something?
They get a bit mixed up to begin with, but they like it. It's my personal touch. I had to hunt around a bit. I knew where to buy the boas, as I spend a lot of my time in markets, browsing for objects, sourcing, as they say. I also helped Punit decide what to buy, and gave him some ideas and added a few splashes of colour here and there. The Queen immediately agreed with Olivia and Punit's idea. She wanted to modernize the wedding, a ceremony that is rigidly codified.
I'll just clip it. That's beautiful.
Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you.
Looking forward to gambling.
I brought money.
The ladies will be royally entertained, as a casino has been set up at the palace for their pleasure. Blackjack, roulette, for the first time in their lives, they'll have a chance to play the Demon's Game. Danenjay's sister and mother have won their bet.
In our community, the weddings have remained how they exactly were, you know, and just to spice it up a little, we've put things like this, and I think it's come out pretty well. I think people have liked it and they're enjoying themselves, and but that was our basic objective.
The princesses are giving their all on the dance floor. Punit and Olivia are surprised by how successfully everything is going. They've never seen the ladies dance like this before.
I think that as much as things change, they stay the same. And I think that you see that in the nature of human beings, and you see that in the nature of Indian royals or modern Indian royals. And it's beautiful in a way to see the changes, but it's also beautiful when they're rooted in their tradition. As long as my guests are happy, I'm happy.
A hectic evening. While in Jaipur, the final preparations for the marriage ceremony are underway, in quite a different atmosphere, as will become apparent. The dynasty's continued success depends on being able to mix tradition with modernity. The Prince of Udaipur is quite happy to wear the right kit for a game of cricket. If the ball's coming straight at me, I'll let it by. A simple relaxation to please the fans that have made the journey to watch his training session. The Prince is a local celebrity.
Yeah, he's playing very nice. Last match he took the 4 wicket. He's a youth icon for the Udaipur.
All the youngsters want to play, want to see that Laksharaj is playing.
Playing and doing that tactics, what he's doing, repeating all that
activity that normal people are seeing. And he's a designer, we can say that.
Like a star.
Yeah, he like a
real
star. Yes.
On the field, he can forget his princely responsibilities and retinue. But off the ground, he's the only one sitting on the sofa. His servants stand to one side, ready to provide all the comforts. Even the ketchup is served in a silver sauce bowl.
How did you feel on the field? How was it?
Hot.
You could have been a professional player? That was...
If I would have opted to be a career, probably yes. But then I chose to make it into where I can make opportunities for people to play. So I had, when I came to cross junctions of life, of trying to decide that if I can kind of make it into a professional career myself, or I can help people or boys or talent to play. And I decided that it would be easier and better that if talent kind of goes ahead.
His father has other ambitions for his only son. The photographers are constantly on the lookout. Laksharaj is regularly featured in the gossip magazines, which chronicle his various girlfriends. It's something his family doesn't really approve of. He refuses to talk about either the photographs or his private life. The heir to Udaipur wants to make it clear he's conforming, although he has little other choice. His father, who has been the Maharaja of Udaipur for 30 years, agrees to be interviewed over cocktails on the private terrace at his palace.
Will to do it. Or the content, written content.
All I've asked him to do is not to sell the cow. Because if you kill the goose that lays the golden egg, which is such a tempting thing to do, and which most of the Maharajahs and our brethren have done, you'll be nowhere. Values will remain, like you said, that you have to have a suitable match. Now, that management language is what has always been the case here. It has never been defined as a language of management. But basically, that is what it has always been. It's a question of managing your affairs.
In other words, a good marriage is good business. No question of losing his privileges, and the son will do as father wishes. What happens, in fact, to those who go against the grain and dare marry for love? In the palace of Jaipur, all is calm again after the storm caused by the young prince's parents more than 15 years ago. Padmanabh sees his tailor every few months. He's growing quickly and his clothes constantly need to be adjusted.
Do you remember the first time you wore a costume?
No.
You're too small?
Yes.
Oh, he was what, 3 years old? So that's the time he wore something like this. And he was very uncomfortable because the collar, he didn't like it, so he was very, very uncomfortable and he was crying and then...
The fittings are a time when father and son can bond. His biological father, because officially Padmanabh is the son of his grandfather, who adopted him when he was 5.
Let him go now. In 2003, there's a big ceremony took place here at the palace, and a lot of people were invited, and the adoption ceremony took place here at the palace. And formally, me and my wife handed over to his new parents, to his grandparents, and then since then he became their son. And we sort of we don't have as such right on him as a son. I mean, we relinquished our rights as a son and handed over to his new parents. So since then, he became their son.
By adopting Padmanabh, his grandfather gave him rank, royal blood, and ended malicious gossip.
As your son, when was the last time you shouted at him or you told him what he was doing was wrong? Or
That keeps happening. Several times it happens because after all he's a baby, and they're supposed to do, mistakes. Like one day I took him to the club to play tennis, and I wanted him to warm up first and then play. So he straight away wanted to go and play. He didn't want to waste time on warming up and all that. So I had to really shout him, and then he complained to my mother-in-law that my father is, shouting at me. So, they know, the children know how to find way out, so that was the last time I shouted at him.
And that's how the family managed to get the throne for their son. Padmanabh's mother and grandmother finally agreed to be interviewed after weeks of negotiations. Since her husband passed away, his grandmother has been in charge of family affairs. We talked to her for a few minutes in her private office. The Maharani had to finally accept her daughter's marriage for love, but she is expecting something else from her grandson.
When it comes to marriage and when the time comes,
I'm sure he'll consult his family and go and then decide on the girl. I think he's a little conscious of that, yes.
And if he decides to act independently, like you did, what will be, both of you, your reaction?
We shall see when the time comes. Yes.
Reaction would be, of course, we would be very disappointed, and but I suppose now, like, the times have changed, but I would still not be very approving of it. Unless the girl, it could be a love marriage with somebody who's quite acceptable. It could even be that.
Age 13, Padmanabh has plenty of time to think about it. When he's not in formal dress, he puts on his baseball cap and calls his friends to come and play football in the palace gardens.
You want to come for football today? It's around 6. It's around 6. It'll be like 1 hour. 1 hour.
He'd like to live like any other child his age.
You have to be here by 6.
Okay.
But no one can make it. And the young king will take his bike and end up doing a few rounds of the palace roof on top of his gilded prison. The festivities surrounding the Prince of Khimsar's marriage are reaching their peak. The wedding is soon to be formalized.
Your last few hours as a single man, are you afraid?
Not at all.
The prince has come to seek his wife on the back of an elephant. Here comes the bride, veiled from head to toe. In a few moments, she will be tied forever and give up her freedom. Everyone is waiting to see her face. A simple cloth separates the prince from his betrothed. After a ceremony that has lasted 7 days, the bride is finally presented to the prince. She now belongs to him, and she's in tears. A string is holding up her veil. It's vital her face remains covered until the wedding night. Officially, she is leaving her family for good and is no longer part of it.
I'll miss you too. That will keep
I
coming.
promise I'll come back to see you, Dad. Some have decided to break away from the feast and its rituals. Jay is the bride's uncle. He's a prince too, but gave up his heritage to live in the United States. He married an American, and his outlook has changed. He's no longer part of this world.
Speak with who?
It's a different world. It's a sheltered world. It's totally contrary, I believe, to what majority of India is. I mean, 230 million people are still hungry in this country today.
Would you say that, what's happening here today is cut off from the reality of this country? I mean...
To an extent, yes. My family will hate me for saying this, but yes, that's true.
The Maharajas cling to their traditions and often turn them into a business, one way to finance their survival. At Udaipur, the festival of Holi celebrates the spring equinox. In the streets, both children and adults of all castes cover themselves with different colored powders. But there's none of the riotous joy of the street in the palace, where Holi is celebrated with pomp and circumstance. The heir is wearing his ceremonial clothes.
Important ceremony, Laksharaj.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, sir. Shall we?
So how many prefix?
We'll find out shortly.
The royals are receiving and have organised a carefully choreographed dinner spectacle. The Prince of Udaipur himself plays the main role. The guests are dozens of tourists who arrive in a convoy of golf carts. Each has paid around $100 to somehow travel back in time. In the heart of the city palace, pageantry is out in force. Those who have paid a little extra are allowed to sit a little closer to the king.
I think it's great. I've never been in a landau before, and I'd recommend them. They're excellent means of transport. It's great. I've never seen anything even remotely like it.
The Maharaja seems to have stepped out of a 16th century engraving, which is, of course, what the tourists appreciate.
These old traditions, this old carriage, I mean, do you think it's old-fashioned?
No, if we love it, absolutely love it. Because basically we're kind of allegiance to Queen Elizabeth, so of course we love it. These people are from England and they love it too. We're so lucky.
We wanted to come desperately, and it's costing us money, but it's just great. We can't understand why everybody isn't.
Very few people would have this experience, you know.
I thought my whole left side, right side is gone.
No detail has been omitted. The holy fire is enormous. The dancers well trained, and the spectators enthralled. Then the dinner among hundreds of candles. Refined Indian cuisine. And then the ultimate privilege of being able to exchange a few words with His Majesty.
Good to see you. To you too.
Thank you.
You've been well?
Yeah. Very good.
Very good. Excellent.
Absolutely amazing to be part of this.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Australia was my second home for a long time.
Really? Whereabouts?
Yes, between Sydney and the Blue Mountains.
You didn't come to Melbourne?
No, unfortunately not. The hospitality industry kept me really busy. 25 hours a day and 8 days a week. So it was really tough to be able to get out
But
of that.
Sydney is beautiful anyway.
It is.
Do you want a picture? Yeah.
Okay, whichever side is comfortable.
The evening will fetch in almost $25,000. It's just one of the dozen or so organised each year by the Moa.
How do you feel knowing that people pay to come and see you? Is that the modernity of the function?
I think what is fascinating is that people come to attend this function. People are inquisitive about this function. People want to associate themselves with this tradition and with this culture. That I find very overwhelming.
And you take advantage of it. So that curiosity, in a good way.
That is something that is left for the situation, is left for the occasion to tell.
While the son is keeping the tourists entertained, the father is hosting Indian families. Each slips a banknote into his hand as a sign of respect. The old Maharaja has lost none of his aura. In the palace of Khimsar, the party is almost over. The couple arrive tied together, the bride following behind the groom. The prince brings his wife home and she enters her new house that belongs to her in-laws and to her new life. Now she's out of public view, she can finally remove her veil. The prince's parents greet her with a few presents, and she kisses their feet, a sign of respect and of submission. One after another, the family members come to inspect her.
So sweet. Pretty.
The prince's grandmother savours her success. She's the one who picked out Grisha among all the various candidates.
I saw her first in Gujarat. I was there last year. Her mannerism was good. Some people you can make out by seeing them and the way they behave. No?
नहीं माँ से पूछ लो पहले हाँ
ओपन इट ना बुआ उठा लेंगे अब तो हो गया यार बहुत घूमता ना बहुत दिन हो गए so much
must be hurting ना very bad
It's okay. So that,
Thank you.
The princess appears a little intimidated. She's 22 and has to mind her gestures and respect the protocol. To begin with, keep her gaze downwards to avoid seeing men looking at her. The wedding barely over, and Grisha will have to take on the responsibilities of a princess from this moment onwards. She introduces herself to the villagers. She's very beautiful. I've just been to see her. Everyone jostles for a chance to take a look at the happy chosen one. It's Grisha's first appearance in public since her marriage. Her comments are made under watchful eyes.
I come from a Rajput family, so even I know my duties and responsibilities as a Rajput girl, and I would just like to live up to my in-laws' expectations. That's the only goal of my life.
What do you anticipate in the future, whether you want to work or you want to, something?
I'll do whatever I'm asked to do, whatever responsibilities I'll be allotted. I'll try and fulfill those.
5 years of studies, a master's in management, and Grisha is by no means naive. Surrounded by her in-laws, she knows what she had to say. It's conformist and respectful to ancestral culture. With the traditional style wedding, Danenjay has stepped back into line. He too has to conform to protocol from now on, but it's certainly less restrictive than his princesses.
My grandfather called me into his room and he told me, look, you've turned 18, in the next 8 years you'll get married. I just want to tell you one thing. You can't have both things, you know, you can't use your family name, you can't have this respect going on, and you don't follow the old culture and tradition. You can go to New Delhi, Bombay, or whichever part of the world, lead your life. We support you. But you cannot do both things at one time. I respect it and
Danenjay chose a name rather than freedom.
Thank you, DJ. The only thing we can do today is just to wish you, your wife, and your children.
Children?
Hey, it has to come.
It's scaring me.
It's not scaring me, but it's gonna tell you is that happy ever after, man. And cheers for the best.
A kind of life that's been preserved in one of the poorest countries in the world that still venerates its ancient kings. The last Maharajas continue to live in their fairy tale.